thing about coronavirus. Listen.
Today for this world, anywhere you go, na corona. For this life today, anytime you go, na corona. Today for this world, anywhere you go, na corona. For this life today, anytime you go, na corona. You go up, you go down, you go left, now side we go running down. You go down, you go up, you go right, now side we go running down. Today for this world, anywhere you go, na corona. For this life today, anytime you go, na corona. Today for this world, anywhere you go, na corona. For this life today, anytime you go, na corona. You go up, you go down, you go left, now side we go running down. You go down, you go up, you go right, now side we go running down. Corona, why you do me so? Corona, why you kill my sister? Corona, why you take my brother go? Corona, you know no rich people. Corona, you know no color. COVID-19, you know no poor people. Corona, you know no man of God. Corona, COVID-19. Corona, why you do me so? Corona, why you kill my sister? Corona, why you take my brother go? Stay inside house, always wash your hands, always wear your mask and keep social distance. Needy shake your hands, needy touch your face. Take your concoction, my brother. Corona, you the spread you the kilo. We must take care, make we stay for house. We must take care, make we wash our hands. You are not tired for the concoction. You are not tired for the concoction. We must take care, keep social distance. We must take care, don't forget your mask. Corona. Where do you come from? I beg, tell me. What do you want to? I beg, tell me. You make me tingling. Now I go tingling. We don't win you, we don't conquer you, one concoction, he don't finish you, one concoction, he don't finish you. We are covered with the blood of Jesus, we are covered with the blood of Jesus. COVID-19, we nearly fear you. Your time don't finish. My God, they protect us. My God, they protect us. COVID-19, we don't win you. COVID-19, we don't conquer you. We know the fear you. We know the fear you. Corona, your time don't finish. Your time don't bother. Corona, your time don't hammer. The president of Dominion Helping Association, Bamenda.
As a child, he attended Mrs. Sam's school, where he developed a love for the arts, playing in Julius Caesar and other Shakespearean roles. He progressed to Achimota School, where he set eyes upon and became smitten with a certain Ajuman's sister. After Achimota School, they went their separate ways. Nana Kunedo went to the University of Science and Technology. While pursuing her degree in interior design, she immersed herself in university life, making lots of friends and taking part in various activities. Jerry John, on the other hand, joined the armed forces to become an Air Force pilot. Flying was his passion, and therefore it came as no surprise when he'd won the Speedbird Trophy for outstanding performance in the flight school.
The Speedbird Trophy went to Lieutenant J.J. Rawlings for being the best Air Force cadet of the flying training school.
Having achieved his dream to become a pilot, he embarked on his mission to track Nana down to rekindle the flame with his childhood sweetheart. After a very long courtship, lasting almost a decade, they got married on 29th January 1977. Two years into their marriage, Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, like many other Ghanaians, frustrated with their deteriorating economic and political conditions, led a mutiny against the military government at the time. Following an unsuccessful uprising, what should have been a closed military trial was opened to the public in an attempt to make scapegoats of Rawlings and his men.
For the first time in Ghana, a group of junior army officers had attempted to pull down a military regime made up of senior army officers. One could say that the abortive attempt had been brought about by extremely compelling factors. The trial of the coup plotters was very revealing. J.J. Rawlings, who boldly owned up as the one person centrally responsible for the attempt, gave cogent and infectiously popular reasons to explain why the attempted coup was justifiable. This titanic force, gigantic in all dimensions, broke loose on June 4th, 1979, with J.J. Rawlings coming out of condemned cells to lead yet another military regime.
During the AFRC's short stay in office, they underwent a house cleaning exercise of weeding out corruption in the system. The AFRC did its best in the short space of time to throw a searching light into the dark recesses of corruption in the country. After 3 months, they handed over to a civilian government under Hila Liman.
We of the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council, during our short stay in power, have demonstrated openly what many people had only suspected before, namely, that the holding of office in governments in this country had in almost all cases been used to plunder the wealth of the nation. Ghana is looking up to you. Thank you.
The political and economic situation of Ghana did not improve, and by 31st December 1981, the Third Republic had been suspended to be replaced by the Provisional National Defense Council, led by Flight Lieutenant J.J. Rawlings. Rawlings had a natural touch, a man of the people. He connected with the masses and they loved him. His style of leadership gave power to the people, that they have a right to hold government accountable. In his usual hands-on approach, JJ and the PNDC mobilized the students and professionals to join hands with the masses in rebuilding Ghana. As the people of Ghana struggled to stop the downward spiral, they joined hands with their brothers and sisters in countries like Nicaragua, Cuba, Suriname, and Burkina Faso in what came to be known as Solidarity in Struggle. As part of his visit, he received the Jose Marti Medal for World Peace on behalf of the Ghanaian people and also met with the Ghanaian students in Cuba.
The chairman receives the Jose Marti Medal for World Peace from President Castro at a solemn but impressive ceremony. The award underscores Ghana's commitment to world peace and solidarity among nations, particularly those that remain oppressed and degraded by poverty, exploitation, and unprovoked aggression.
Statesmen and world leaders, impressed by JJ's vision and his leadership style, paid visits to Ghana to show their support and forge closer ties with the country. Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings symbolized the new Africa rising out of post-independent neo-colonialism.
My best friend's teeth were disgustingly yellow until she did this. They were stained for over 10 years. Recently, she found this revolutionary new teeth whitening system. Her teeth became perfectly white using this for just 9 minutes a day. How did I find this teeth whitening system? Well, I had stained, discolored teeth myself after years of smoking and drinking coffee. So I started experimenting with a variety of so-called teeth whitening options, and here's what I found. Hint, only one really works. First, I tried teeth whitening strips. What a waste of time! 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes at night for weeks. I saw absolutely no difference. My teeth were still stained yellow. Forget strips. Let me just go to a trustworthy dentist, I said to myself. Boy, was I wrong. $1,279 later, this turned out to be an absolute nightmare. My teeth and gums were sensitive for months. It makes me cringe every time I think about it. It was crazy how I found this teeth whitening product. I turned on the Wendy Williams show, and she was talking about a new, proven teeth whitening system that you only need to use for 9 minutes a day. So what was this magical new teeth whitening system? The Snow Teeth Whitening Kit. With a 4.9-star review average, the Snow Teeth Whitening Kit has whitened the teeth of over 17 million people around the world.
Easy to use and quick results. Gentle on sensitive teeth and gums.
I noticed whiter teeth and stains disappearing in just a few days.
If you're on the fence whether or not to get this, do yourself a favor and get it. I promise you, you won't regret it.
Equipped with the most advanced whitening serum and award-winning LED activating technology, Snow is turning people into loyalists in droves. Snow is also endorsed by the likes of Ariane Celeste, Demi Lee Nell Peters, Matilda Zedegis, and many other celebrities around the world. And it's not just celebrities. Here's how the Snow Whitening Kit works. First, brush your teeth. Second, apply the whitening serum on your teeth. Third, brighten your teeth with Snow's LED activating technology for 9 minutes. Fourth, rinse. That's it. Here are the results for Stacy and myself after 3 short weeks. A few weeks of just 9 minutes a day. You'll see the pearly whites you've always dreamt of. The cool thing? Snow is so confident that their product will work that they give a full 30-day money-back guarantee. Click the link now.
The struggle for Africa's liberation that began with the Founding Fathers was not to be forgotten. The former president of the Republic of Tanzania, Julius Nyerere, was awarded Ghana's highest honor, Order of the Star of Ghana, for his contribution to Pan-Africanism. JJ's popularity, like the wind, spread to neighboring African countries, and on his arrival at the 11th summit of the Economic Community of West African States in Lome, Togo, the crowds of people lined the streets to catch a glimpse of the man who brought back hope to the Ghanaian people.
Welcome to Togo.
this summit, West African leaders continued with the objective for an economic community. Jerry John Rawlings was welcomed in Addis Ababa for the 25th anniversary of the then Organization of African Unity. He reiterated Nkrumah's dreams of Pan-Africanism and the continued struggle for a united Africa.
Our country, Ghana, played its modest role towards the inauguration of this organization 25 years ago. The passion of our visionary first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, for continental unity is unforgettable. A united Africa provided for him the only assurance of real independence for us and sovereignty over our vast natural resources. For his vision and passion, he became a prime target for the enemies of Africa. With his view that the independence of Ghana is meaningless without the total liberation of Africa, Dr. Nkrumah subordinated the independence of Ghana to the struggle for the liberation of the whole continent. He paid the price for his visionary zeal and boldness. But his speech on this very rostrum 25 years ago not only touched the hearts of Africa's youth, it still provides the agenda for our continent's liberation. Long live the AU. May God bless us all. Thank you.
Back on the home front, the process of economic recovery continued, and contact with the grassroots maintained. This kind of popular support kept a strong base for the continued governance of the PNDC.
It is only by collective effort that the nation's problems can be solved. There are still some people who would like the nation to go back to childhood, but we are grown up, or should be. We're supposed to be old enough to realize that the nation is now paying the rest of the outstanding bill for those easier days when so many of our resources were squandered.
With the willpower of the Ghanaian people, combined with the dedicated visionary leadership of Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, the country embarked on an economic recovery program whose sole objective was to lift the people of Ghana out of economic and political decadence. The country's transportation network, which had virtually ground to a halt, was revitalized under the PNDC government through the rehabilitation of old roads and the construction of new ones to link the sources of production to places of export and to assist in the easy movement of people. To connect villages, towns and cities separated by rivers and lakes, bridges were also built to make the transportation of goods and services among communities easier.
This bridge, which we're commissioning this morning,
is a long-term investment to benefit our generation and its successors. It is only one of many infrastructural projects that the PNDC is undertaking around the country to ensure that the economy does not falter again. This bridge belongs to Ghana, but it is more yours because it is Ajomoro. It is your property. Do not see it as government property. All of you assembled here are also the government because the PNDC is a government that is or should be run by the people.
Electricity, which was previously enjoyed by few, was now available to more citizens of the nation.
So now that electricity has reached this community, it is important it is used to generate funds for further development. This area, as you know yourselves, is rich in resources. It has extensive clay deposits and also deposits of oyster shells, both of which can form the basis for the manufacture of a variety of products: ceramics, building materials, lime, abrasives, etc. The existing Gary processing industry can be expanded and other agri-based industries can
Texas homeowners, all the electric companies are raising their rates, but you can stop them. By getting solar panels installed at no cost to you, you'll get your power from the sun. Now what that's going to do for you is make your power meter run backwards. Now that's going to put a credit on your electric bill so you never have to pay it again. Plus, you'll get paid thousands of dollars back from the federal government for going solar this year. Best part, no one has to come to your house and you don't have to leave your house to find out exactly how much you can save. By clicking the link in this video, in as little as 30 seconds or less, you'll find out how you could save $100.
Developed.
The educational system, which reflected the legacy of colonialism, was restructured and customized to cater to the social, political, economic, historical, and geographical needs and structures of Ghana. Health was a central issue in structural adjustment. Inoculations of the 6 killer diseases were compulsory for every child, leading to the eradication of polio. The number of guinea worm cases fell drastically due to consistent education through the primary healthcare system. Bilharzia was another serious disease to be addressed. The dense vegetation growing in rivers served as breeding grounds for snails, which were the primary carriers during the cycle of the disease. Chairman Rawlings got personally involved in the removal of the weeds. Honor and integrity were returned to the Ghana Armed Forces and Police, who undertook regular refresher courses in Asutreri Training Camp and other camps. The refresher courses were designed to maintain the alertness of the troops. The exemplary performance of the Ghanaian troops in peacekeeping missions won Ghana a Nobel Prize in 1988. Their dedication to their profession was vital in the fight against smuggling and illegal drug trade, diminishing the supply and trade of drugs in Africa. As part of the team-building process, the PNDC was involved in various sporting events.
Very clean up, as you can see, it's Abdallah coming very fast, and then Steve Akufu and Abdallah comes second, and Ahoy first. Ahoy is first, but he's down, apparently exhausted, and he's being helped to the touchline to be worked on. So, Kwame Ahoy first, 30.3 seconds, Dr. Abdallah second, and Steve Akufu third. And that's Kwame Ahoy being worked on there. You're giving some water to drink after that race. He won it beautifully, but because he had exhausted all the strength in him.
What was your impression before you started the race? Oh, I looked at the lineup and I knew that it was going to be an easy day. You know, I never had any doubt that I was going to win. It's unfortunate that I fell at the finishing post, but I expected to win.
Very fast race again. I can see Arthur Austin running very hard. Behind him we have Chairman Rawlings, but who is going to be first? Kofi Jane is also running very hard. A few of them running like a neck. Arthur Austin is leading them behind, and that's Arthur Austin breaking the tape, followed by Kofi Jane and Chairman Rawlings in that order.
Know your background as a sportsman.
I have to give up smoking.
You've taken smoking?
I have to give up smoking. It's cut down on my stamina.
And now we come to the ladies. 15 meters depth. And there they come. You can see this is not like my Rollins. This is Anna aiming all running very hard. And that was an easy race for Mrs. Rawlings. And she was followed by Mrs. Anna.
My people are not fools on the hill. our purpose land. I wanna know who owns the land. Who wanna know who owns the land? Okay, now listen carefully. Chinese are ruling the Chinese land. Japan is ruled by Japanese. England is governed by Englishmen. America is governed by Americans. So, Africa must be ruled by Africans. I wanna know who owns the land. We must rule from Cape to Cairo. We must rule our purpose land. I said, we want to know who owns the land. I want to know who owns the land. Hey, Papasle. Papasle. Angola want to know who owns the land. Mozambique want to know who owns the land. Namibia want to know who owns the land. I said, Soweto want to know who owns the land. Zimbabwe want to know who owns the land. African freedom fighters want to know who owns the land. Purposely. Now listen to the history. With the years since creation. With the years since creation. What else do I know? Since the time of sun and sand. Since the time of moon and stars. Since the time of air and seas. Since the time of men and things. We must run from Cape to Cairo. And then we must prove our purpose land. Purpose land. Oh! Okay now I want to talk to my people. Ira Daniela, oh, I will know. Yeah, Ira Daniela, oh, I will know. Daniela, now we are the crossroads. On the Bemo, Daniela. Daniela, on the Bemo, Daniela. Open me, I get a baba. Yeah, open me, just to Yaraka. Open me, Tizania, the Congo.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to ABC Amber Television, coming to you from Texas, the great state of Texas, precisely here in Houston, Texas. It's a privilege to come to you again today with this live presentation. I call it a very, very special presentation with one of the, I would say, quite unknown Pan-Africanists out there who is joining me, and we'll be having a lot to share with us today. I want to welcome all of you watching from Ground Zero, all of you in all of sub-Saharan Africa, of course, Africans in the diaspora. This is for you today. Please, as usual, I will expect those of you joining by way of Facebook to go ahead and hit your share button, invite friends, invite Africans. This is a Pan-African show today. It's a Pan-African show today. Everything that you can think of about Africa, we're going to be talking about that today. And so, ladies and gentlemen, again, those of you watching by way of Facebook, YouTube, go ahead, hit your share button, invite friends, while I prepare to bring to you my guest today. But before I get there, we're going to bring you unfoldings in Bamenda. In Bamenda, I'm talking about Ambazonia now. We're going to be bringing you unfoldings, developments in the Bamenda, developments which started since Tuesday. We now learn that there have been a total lockdown of the city by French Cameroon colonial soldiers. I'm going to be bringing to you my correspondent from Bamenda, who will update us with what is going on in Bamenda today. So please go ahead, hit your share button, and do not touch your remote. I'll be back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for staying put in there. Again, we've got so much to talk about today. We're going to be bringing you updates from Bamenda. We're going to be talking about Africa and African leadership, Africans' mentality. In fact, one of the subjects of today will be titled African leaders taking us back into slavery. African leaders taking us back into slavery. We're going to be talking a lot about Africa today. But before I take you into the presentation proper, in the next 5 minutes, within the next 5 minutes, I need at least 700 people before I can come to you with this presentation proper. So please, if you are just joining, go ahead and hit your share button. In the next 5 minutes, let's get 700 people right here on the Facebook platform. Let us do that quickly so the people watching by way of TV won't have to wait for us for a long time. So please do that. Let's get the numbers jumping. Let's get the numbers on Facebook jumping, ladies and gentlemen. So remember, I got a very, very important announcement to bring to you by the end of the day. I got a very, very important announcement to bring to you today, ladies and gentlemen. It's a development that we would like to pass into the hands of every African out there. So please, stay put. Let's hit the share button and let the numbers jump so that I can come to you with the presentation. And while you are doing so, I would like to get to Bamenda. To talk to our source on the ground who is monitoring what has been going on in Bamenda, since Tuesday. So I will try to bring him on board to let us know what is going on in Bamenda. We understand that Bamenda has been shut down. Bamenda has been shut down. People are locked home everywhere because of the Cameroon military everywhere in the city harassing people, and life has essentially been brought to a standstill in Bamenda. And so right now, ladies and gentlemen, I will bring you our correspondent on the ground in Bamenda who has been following this for the past 3 days. Hello, Edward.
Hello.
Hello, Edward. Good afternoon, sir.
It is evening. Good evening.
Oh, it's good.
Chris. Good evening.
It's good evening. Right. Thank you for that correction. I hope you guys are safe out there.
We are very, very safe. We are very, very safe in Bamenda. It's just that the past 3 days, yes, the past 3 days in Bamenda has not been easy at all.
Right. So we understand that today is a total shutdown, a total lockdown, no vehicle, nothing can be found on the streets of Bamenda.
Yes, today the 3 local government areas of Bamenda were shut down. On Tuesday and
on whose instruction? Is it just coincidental, or somebody actually passed out the instructions for people to stay home?
It's not really on somebody's instruction. There is wide rumor that the military is saying that any military shot by restoration forces, if one military is shot by restoration forces, they will give a 1-week lockdown to the population of Bamenda.
What is the population saying about that?
The population has nothing to say, Secretary Chris, because as early as
I think we're having a bad network there. Hello? Hello? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we must get that report in from Bamenda. Go ahead, keep on hitting your share button while I bring back our reporter in Bamenda. We must get that report. It is very important. It's very important to get the updates coming from there. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there seems to be a problem with the network there, but I can assure you that we will get him back. We will get him back to join the call. The information he was about giving us is the updates he was about giving us are very, very important, and we will do everything to get that report coming from him all the way on the ground in Bamenda. So please, let's go ahead and keep on hitting the share button as I prepare to bring my guest for tonight to join the broadcast. So please, quickly, let's do that. Again, we will get our reporter to join us. Please stay tuned, and do not touch your remote. right, ladies and gentlemen, sorry about that interruption. We have not been able yet to get back our correspondent in Bamenda to continue with that report, but again, let me assure you, we will do everything to get him back on the phone before this broadcast is over. We will get him back to bring us that report. In the meantime, what we'll learn is that Bamenda is grounded. Bamenda is grounded. The people are locked back in their home, and as we learn from our reporter, he was stating that the police, the French Cameroon police and the French Cameroon soldiers in Bamenda have said every time that one of them is attacked, there will be a lockdown, there will be a shutdown of the city of Bamenda, a shutdown of the city of Bamenda. We're going to be talking about that. I'm going to spend one of these days doing some commentary on that, but we just want to wish that everybody in the city of Bamenda remains safe. We are in a war. And you're going to be seeing these kind of scenarios showing up on a regular basis. So we hope that you remain safe. Okay, I am reconnected now with my reporter in Bamenda. Hello, sir.
Hello?
Yes, we lost you there suddenly. We don't know what happened.
Sorry, my connection was...
Okay, so you were saying that...
my connection was interrupted.
Oh, okay, I hope we get it right now. But you were saying that the soldiers, the police, French Cameroon army in Bamenda have said every time that one of them is attacked, they will shut down the city of Bamenda. Is that?
That is the information we are getting from people around. Some of the people who are close to the military. They say the military is saying that if any of French Cameroon force is gone down by restoration forces, they will impose a 1-week lockdown in the city of Bamenda. If 2 of their forces are killed, they will impose a 2-week lockdown in Bamenda. That is the rumor circulating around, but I cannot confirm that.
Now, I was hearing that the lockdown that is currently going on, is it imposed or the people just decided to stay home?
No, Secretary Chris, the lockdown is being imposed by French Cameroon soldiers. For example, what happened today at the Commercial Avenue? You find the military shooting in air. When the military shoots in air like that, what do you expect the civilian population to do? Those who were going for their normal businesses, they have to start running away. And that is how the whole town was locked down for today, Thursday.
So the shooting started early in the morning or what?
The shooting started around 10 o'clock in the morning, 10 a.m. and gradually engulfed the whole city of Bamenda.
And I guess by 10 a.m. every shop would have been open by then. So then everybody had to shut down and leave.
7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, shops are open, banks are open, people go for their normal businesses, offices are open. By 9, 10 a.m. in the morning, when the military starts shooting in the air like that, what do you expect the population to do? People have to start running back home, and that is how lockdown for today came.
Now, is this happening just around the city chemist, Commercial Avenue, hospital runabout, Big Mancon area? I mean, what you would call downtown area, or is everywhere in Bamenda?
On Tuesday, we heard French Cameroon forces doing control around City Chemist Runabout. Some say City Chemist Runabout, some say Simon Mancon at the entrance to Catholic Church Simon Mancon towards Rendezvous. French Cameroon soldiers were attacked on Tuesday. So on Tuesday, Bamenda, the city, Commercial Avenue, food market in Tarinkon, hospital runabout, travelers was locked down, but Nkwen. From Mrs. Ngeng Junction coming back to Nkwen, my 4 Bambui area was very functional. That was the same situation yesterday. Town was locked down, Nkwen was functional. But today, I tell you, the whole of Bamenda city was locked down.
Now, what are you hearing? What are you hearing from the people? I was reading a report allegedly from a reporter with CRTV saying that the police in Bamenda are now refusing to go out in uniforms because they don't know what may happen to them. They feel like the population has also turned against them, and they fear anyone could go after them if they go out in uniform. Is that true?
It is very likely to be true, Secretary Chris, because what I have noticed in town most often when I move in town is that you will hardly see a policeman discussing with a taxi driver alone. They always use the civilian population as their shield. You know, actually what they do in town is they don't control car vehicles. They collect the money.
Yes.
So when a taxi driver come and park in the morning, when the policeman stops a taxi driver, he makes sure that as he is giving the dossiers of the taxi driver, another taxi driver is by him. It will be very difficult for restoration forces to attack them. So they are using the civilian population as their shield. Most of them.
Hold on there. How do they use the civilian population as a shield? I mean, do they have to ask the civilian population to come closer to them or what?
What I'm saying here is that they make sure 2 or 3 taxi drivers are by their side.
Okay.
Either I'm giving a document, the car documents to you with 1,000 francs inside, or I am collecting my car documents from you. You hardly see the policeman stops a single taxi. He makes sure that 2 or 3 taxi drivers are by him.
Okay. So it will
be very difficult for restoration forces to attack them, because restoration forces don't always like to attack when the population is around.
Right. So I guess in the case of Tuesday it was different, or what?
Well, the case of Tuesday, restoration forces must have done their calculations very well. In short, the restoration forces always come as winner. You don't even know their modus operandi. Within 5 minutes, they've done the act and they are done. They are gone.
Now, so we saw on the, yesterday, I mean, hundreds, probably I think there were maybe over 1,000 people assembled at the GMI police station along the road to Ntarekon there. How did those people get there? Were they, some people say, they were led from the food market to that location. The women were sent away and the men were asked to remain behind, bribe the police. If you were not able to bribe the police, 5,000 francs, you remain there, and we learned that hundreds of them are still there at the GMI, locked up until when they are able to pay these sums of money. How did they get there? Did they walk there, or they were forced there from the food market by the army and the police?
Secretary Chris, Jamie police is not far from food market.
Right.
It's just a small stream separating these two places. Food market and the mobile police unit is just a stream. So it is very certain. When the police are harassing population to collect their money, they don't care whether you have ID card or not. And enter behind the Land Cruiser, enter behind a vehicle, and you go to the police station. So they just pick people at randomly, climb whether you have your ID card or not. He who has might be 5,000 or 10,000 and presses it in the hands of the police is safe. But you, if you don't have, go to the police station, and from there you begin to negotiate to go back home. Whether with your ID card or not, when they are out for money, they must pick you.
Right. So, are people coming out tomorrow, or they are not coming out tomorrow? What do you know?
Secretary Chris, what I want Southern Cameroonians to know is that even with heavy guns, people were still struggling and moving around. It will be very difficult for the civilian population in Bamenda to respect their lockdown. But let me tell you, on Monday Ghost Town, our usual Ghost Town, nobody is seen outside. Nobody is seen outside. But when the military is imposing their own lockdown, if they are in town trying to impose lockdown, Nkwen is functional. By the time they cross Nkwen and is struggling to impose lockdown there, Ntarinkon is functional. So you hardly see the city of Bamenda lockdown because of French Cameroon soldiers trying to impose their lockdown. But I bet you on Monday, nobody forces you to stay home.
I'm
willing to stay home on Monday. The people are tired of the French Cameroon rule. The military can only succeed to impose a lockdown in Bamenda through the barrel of the gun. But on Monday, the usual Monday goes down.
Right.
There's no gunshot and people stay home happily. That is to tell the French Cameroon government that people are tired of the system. They want to go away.
Now, there are no casualties out there today. Have you heard any?
Well, this evening we have not learned of any casualty, but by tomorrow morning we will start getting information about what happened today, really.
Did the shooting go on through the day, or just went on for some hours?
By 10 a.m. today, Commercial Avenue City Chemist was already shut down. Nkwen was very functional. When I moved to my 4, I personally moved to my 4 around 11:30, 12. It was still very functional. But by 3 p.m., my 4, the gunshots around Guinness Nkwen, St. Paul Junction, and my 4 was not easy. This evening, the gendarmerie control post at my 4 Nkwen blocked the road between Bambui and Bambili, between Bambui and Nkwen.
We are reading some reports that in the social media that about 30 trucks of, about 30 trucks loaded with brasserie products were up in the Metazem trying to enter Bamenda. Have you heard anything? Do you know anything about that?
People have reported so. Those who left Bafusam and came to Bamenda before the gunshots were intensified has informed us so. But when you hear them stationed at Matazem, that is a frontier between French Cameroon and Southern Cameroon, what are they waiting there? They are waiting for the military to come and escort them downtown. That is very clear. Even fuel tankers, Total, that come to Bamenda, enter the northern zone. When they come, they wait at Matazem in Santa for the military to escort them downtown because they don't know if restoration forces are going to attack them on the way as they are coming down to Bamenda town.
Right. Now, tell me, what do you know about the installation yesterday of this chief of Mindankwe? We are learning that the chief that was installed yesterday was actually the rightful heir to the throne and not the French Cameroon appointed chief that they had planned to install. What do you know?
Well, Secretary Chris, I cannot really say anything about that. But far back, our history, especially in the northern zones, are chiefs being installed by the government, were funds being installed by the government. I don't have any idea about that, but what I know historically is that funds are not being installed by the government, or chiefs are not being installed by the government. We now hear of first-class chief, second-class chief, third-class chief. Those are just administrative formalities introduced by French Cameroon to further assimilate the people of Southern Cameroon. If not, in those days, we had nothing like the first class or the second class or the third class chiefs, up to the extent that it is the Yaoundé administration installing them. The Yaoundé administration installs somebody against the will of the population.
All right.
I cannot say anything because I have no idea.
Right. All right. We hope that all of you out there remain safe, and we are asking the population in Bamenda, all of Bamenda Place, if it is not safe out there, stay home, remain home. Do not go out there and get a stray bullet to kill you. And of course, all what they are doing out there is intimidation. French Cameroon will not intimidate Ambazonians, Southern Cameroonians, to any form of submission, to any form of submission. We keep on reminding them. We keep on reminding them, if they think that they can avoid the mediation table, the negotiation table, and choosing force upon unarmed civilians, we can assure them that we have examples of countries that have fought for their independence and they were not in the rush. They were not in the rush to call it off. We are not in the rush to lay down our arms and surrender to French Cameroon. We will prosecute the war until that moment that French Cameroon is prepared to meet us on the negotiation table. And if they had done so, for the past 2 years, I think for the past 1 year, yes, for the past, I would say almost 2 years that we've been talking about the Swiss initiative. If they had done so, I think many of these incidents would have been avoided. Many of the deaths and that we see would have been avoided. And if they had mistakenly taken that we are going to lay down our arms, lay down our tools because of their harassment, their intimidation, their killings, we are prepared. We know what the cost of war is. The cost of war is a sacrifice of human life, which is what they are doing. But unfortunately for them, that is always stirring us up, stirring up our people. We saw it last week in Kumba. The woman told the colonial officials in that town they cannot stop respecting lockdowns in ghost towns on Monday. The people are resolved to fight for their independence, for their freedom. So also we see in Bamenda. So no level, no amount of intimidation will cause Ambazonia to hastily surrender, lay down arms to French Cameroon. We are prepared to prosecute this war, ladies and gentlemen, for the next 40 years. For the next 40 years, if that is necessary, if need be, we will do so. Again, we want the people in Bamenda to please remain safe. Remain safe. And in the days ahead, I shall be coming to you with a talking point on the way forward in any lockdown that is imposed by colonial authorities. I heard their governors saying they are going to use their security forces to bring peace and order. Unfortunately, it is that same security force that is causing the mayhem, the atmosphere that we find operating there at the moment. But in the days ahead, I will come up to talk to you out there in Bamenda and in all of Ambazonia on the way forward to this new form of threats and intimidation upon you. Edward, before I let you go, do you have anything else to say, please?
Yes, I have two things which I want the people of Southern Cameroon to know.
Okay.
Very soon it will be 1 year. Very soon it will be 1 year. As Yaoundé said, they have given us a special status. They said they have given us special status. That was in October 2019.
Right.
This is October 2020 coming 1 year after.
Right.
What has changed? What has changed? Any single kilometer of road that in northern zone or southern zone, what has really changed? So I think we should be prepared to go out and celebrate the first anniversary of this empty special status declared to us by the Yaoundé regime.
Well, we do not have to dignify them in any way by any means.
Celebrating its Secretary Chris is a mockery to the Yaoundé regime, because 1 year after the special status declared to us or given to us, what has changed?
Right.
Absolutely nothing. The next thing I want people to understand is that our elites who are working with the regime in Yaoundé keep saying that people in the diaspora are giving us instructions and we are following them. Schools are not going, they are deceiving us, and their children are going to school. The nonagenian dictator, the 90-year-old dictator who is in Yaoundé, or the ministers in Yaoundé are their children in Cameroon? Are their own children in French Cameroon? Their children
Of
are
course
also
not.
abroad.
Right.
They in Yaoundé sending you to come and fight in southern Cameroon. You are going to fight for who? Somebody who is 90-year-old. Is his family in Yaoundé? You going to fight? Do you have any future? You are going to fight for somebody's territory. You are going to fight in somebody's territory. So I just want people in Yaoundé to understand that except you are foolish. If I'm the one, I will not go. I'll ask you to go and fight. I will not go.
All right.
In the northern or southern are defending their territory. They are in their territory. The old man in Yaoundé is sending you and you are going to where? Where are you going to? It doesn't make sense at all.
All right. Thank you. Listen, I have an assignment for you. I need you to investigate, because I listened to this announcement yesterday of the so-called regional elections. Regional elections. We need to do a story on that, and I'd like you to stay on top of it, carry out some investigation. Let's know how it is being organized and where those elections going to be taking place and who precisely is going to feature in those elections. So work on that, and we shall come back to it in the days ahead. Thank you for joining, sir.
Thank you so much, Secretary Chris.
All right, you remain safe, please. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was it from Bamenda. At least we know what is going on there in Bamenda now. The people are locked home. The people are made not to go out, not by their own wills, but the will of the invading French Cameroon army. And once more, let me say this very, very clearly to the invading colonial French Cameroon army, that there is no way that any form of intimidation coming from them is going to subdue the uprising Ambazonian, Southern Cameroonian people who want nothing but a free and independent Southern Cameroon. So again, in the days ahead, I'm going to be doing a lot on this subject, ladies and gentlemen. But in the meantime, all of you in Bamenda, remain safe. And remember, Mondays remain our lockdown, ghost towns days. Our lockdown, ghost towns days. And let me assure those enemy forces invading our towns and cities, you continue to make the lives of our people a living hell. We will make sure that none of you put on any colonial uniform in any of our towns and cities. Yes, that is what will happen. You will make the lives of our people a living hell. We will make sure that none of you will walk freely on the streets of Ambazonia with a colonial uniform on your body. So, okay. Thank you. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. Today I am joined by a very, very powerful Pan-Africanist. I was supposed to be coming to you today with Dr. Ambassador Arikana, but unfortunately something came up as an emergency and she could not be here. However, my exclusive guest for the day is here, and I am talking about Dr. Israel. Dr. Israel Davidson. The middle name is a little tough there to pronounce, but we will get there soon. But I am joined by Dr. Israel Davidson, who is joining me all the way from London. Lots and lots of you out there have probably listened to him. In the video, a short footage that he made. It went viral. It went viral everywhere, and Africans are still talking about it. I'd like you to sit still, and for the next few minutes, please listen to Dr. Israel Davidson.
Please lend me your ears and concentration for just 4 minutes. Now, for several years now, I've had the privilege and blessing of traveling, working with professionals and educating students across the world. UK, China, Singapore, Malaysia, South Africa, Greece, and counting. However, ever so often, I engage in soul-searching thoughts on Africa, Nigeria, our homeland, and the black race in general. You see, I can't seem to work out why, despite abundant human and natural resources and exemplary achievements of Nigerian professionals abroad, our nation remains backward in all indices of human progress. Look, recently, a 1988 statement by William Botha of the apartheid South Africa challenged me to tears. Now, he said, black people cannot rule themselves because they don't have the brain and mental capacity to govern a society. You give them guns, they'll kill themselves. Give them power, they will loot the treasury. Give them independence and democracy, they will use it to promote tribalism, ethnicity, bigotry, hatred, killings, and wars. Now, fellow citizen, let me challenge you. Have you, your leaders or government, proved this racist South African wrong since the statement in 1988? Think about that. You see, we are the only race that is ready and willing to sacrifice meritocracy, national development and progress, to favor protection of tribal and religious loyalty, despite the recycling consequences before us since independence. Take a look at the literacy rate of Nigeria. At 62% national average for adults in general, and 65.1% for young adults of 15 to 24. One expects informed national decisions with positive national impacts on, for example, the quality of the elected national leaders. Not really in our case. We are not moved by the economic and security realities and human suffering in our nation. We are not moved by the quality of our leaders or how and why the black man is being ridiculed worldwide, providing our tribe, political party, or religion controls political power. That's shameful. Even our highly educated professionals and media outlets, North and South, keep a blind eye to the realities of the Nigerian state for tribal, religious, and personal enrichment considerations. Yet, we wonder why our nation remains the poverty capital of the world. Yet, we wonder why the black race is increasingly undervalued and humiliated across the world. Who did this to us? Who did this to us? Do you ever ask this question? COVID-19 has exposed the state of our nation and the cumulative impact of the quality of our leadership over several years. Our leaders are repeating the errors of 500 years ago when our kings and military aristocrats sold our people into slavery for mirrors and gunpowder. They failed to realize that by that decision, they had confined future generations into perpetual slavery, exploitation, and abuse. Today, foreign powers are acquiring hectares of land outright across Nigeria and Africa for the next phase of our slavery or colonization. Once more.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am joined by Dr. Israel Davidson, joining me from London, and let me just do this. Dr. Israel Davidson, ladies and gentlemen, is a senior academic at the Newcastle Business School in the United Kingdom. Is the United Kingdom's chartered management accountant and a 2019 presidential candidate in Nigeria. As you've just seen on your screen, he is the author of that video, Who Did This to Us? Who Did This to Us? The video that went viral. Dr. Davidson, it's quite a pleasure having you here, sir.
Thank you, Chris, for having me. It's a great pleasure being here.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope that you are doing excellent out there in the United Kingdom.
I'm trying. I am.
Wonderful. Well, listening to you, you laid out succinctly exactly what is Africa today, the problem of Africa today. What was the inspiration behind that clip? Because I'm telling you, it went viral, and anyone who took time to listen to it can't stop thinking, meditating upon the issues that you raised there. What was the inspiration behind it?
Thank you, Chris. I tell you what, I've had the opportunity and the privilege of traveling across the world. Not actually on holiday, no, to do my work, which is in education consultancy. I've traveled quite extensively. And one of the things that baffles me is that anywhere I go, whether it's China, Russia, South Africa, wherever that I go, and I see clear evidence of progress, I keep wondering, why Africa remains where it is. And the other thing there also is that myself and a number of African colleagues, whether in the medical field, whether in education, whether in Europe or America, we're performing extremely well. These countries are relying on us to deliver services. In fact, they're giving us extra responsibilities. Like I mentioned earlier on, I have been on several missions on behalf of Newcastle Business School to different parts of the world. Now, at some times, I think I was on a conference in Russia, where one of the top officials called me by the side and asked me and said, look, you guys are very good. I've been to various conferences around the world and I see Africans, and you guys are very good at what you do. Why can't you help your country? And I think this has been bothering me over time until I came across that disturbing 1988 statement by William Botha. And I think it hit me like a bullet. And I couldn't control myself. Actually, I shed tears a little bit because, like I said, there are capable Africans all over the world performing extremely well. So how come our own mother continent, we are so behind? We have the natural resources, we have the human resources. God has given us, favor. We have the sun, we have a virgin land, so many things. And I think that is precisely what made me to say, look, I need to draw the attention of Africans across the world to the realities of Africa and to get them to begin to think through this question. Who did this to us? Because we have everything, but why are we still behind? And being humiliated all over the world by even people whom we are better off than. I think that's what exactly led me to make that video.
Talking about humiliation, Africans are humiliated wherever they find themselves, be it in China, be it in Europe, be it in the USA. African leaders are humiliated everywhere, in every part of the globe. But the African, to my understanding, I mean, when I talk about the African, I mean the African on the street. The problem, I've always said, the problem of Africa is the African leader who is exposed enough to do what is right. Most of them studied in these same countries, in London, in France, in USA, but they do nothing back in their own countries to change the lives of their people, and which is why we are humiliated and ridiculed everywhere across the globe. Am I wrong?
Well, I wouldn't say you're wrong. Not all of them are actually as exposed as you said. Not quite all of them read abroad. I think one of the biggest challenges that we face in terms of leadership is that the people who make the choice, I'm talking about the electorates, they are not well informed. Many of them are still voting on tribal or religious basis. And I think the second time...
You don't think you're overstating it to think that most of them who make the decisions are not well informed? I mean, most of this, if you are talking about the era of the Inyereres, the Hufed Boani, the KK, Kenneth Counters, I mean, all those ancient leaders, if you are talking about their era, that would be understandable, but you're talking about contemporary Africa, even if the leaders are not educated or have been in power for too long to change anything, at least we know that they have cabinet members who are well educated, who know what policy should be, but they just would not do anything.
Look, Chris, I've come to, I'm in education, and I've come to realize that there is a very clear distinction between schooling and education. And I think you're referring to a number of people who were schooled and they have a qualification, but actually they're not educated. They are not actually educated. When you're educated, it gives you the power to reason and to think. And when you simply go through the schooling process, you simply learn how to regurgitate, information and pass, and then you head off. So I've come to realize of late that even amongst our professionals in Africa, many of them are not really educated. They are not. Because I've engaged some of them in conversation, trying to reorient, trying to redirect them to begin to think in a very patriotic way. Yet in the end, you see them slide back into religious or tribal, areas of thinking. And that's the point I'm making here. Yes, there are a number of us, a number of Africans who have degrees. But if you cannot realize that you need to act in the interest of the wider society, if you cannot condemn or criticize the people in leadership simply because they are either from your part of the country or your tribe, or that you share the same religious belief with them, then that individual is not educated. And that's what is keeping us far too behind, to be honest. And so that's what that's what I was trying to explain. Yes, there are a number of them, qualification-wise they do have them, but they do not have that ability to think deeper and to make decisions that will benefit the wider society. That for me, that's not education.
Now, you talked about the African leaders preparing us for the next colonization of Africa. And what did you mean by that?
I think what I mean by that is that, you see, if you look back into history, one of the things I have learned, in my research is that I think I need to be careful here. I don't want to overgeneralize. But a lot of people in power, even within the slave trade era, were so selfish and greedy that they were prepared to make decisions to favor themselves just in order to acquire a foreign gift or a foreign object, just to be able to make sure that they look different, in the eyes of, their colleagues. And so, if you look in recent times, I mean, let me refer to the issue of China, for example. There is, everybody's afraid of China at the moment.
Right.
And if wherever you go to, you have series of articles wondering whether China is the next colonial master. But if you look at it very carefully, you realize that, China arrived in Africa, with two prone attacks. They arrived as business people, which of course, if you're a business person, you have to evaluate the environment in which you're going to invest. And then, of course, you make your decision to protect your own interest. And the Chinese government, though they are giving, loans, those loans are not free gifts. They realize the terrain, the African terrain, where those investments are going into.
Right.
They realize the level of corruption amongst our leaders. They also realize the possibility that some of those loans may not be recovered. Of course, they had to impose conditions to protect themselves. However, now this is where I am talking about our leaders preparing us for the next phase of colonization. Anytime there is a discussion, a business discussion between two parties, let's say in this case between the Chinese government and an African government, negotiation is about two individuals discussing and arriving at an agreement that is suitable to both of them. Now, unfortunately, for whatever reason, a number of these African leaders are prepared to sign documents they can't even read. Let me give you an example. In Nigeria that I come from, it was discovered recently that a number of loan contracts were written in Chinese. And African and Nigerian officials signed this document they cannot read, they cannot understand.
Right.
And hidden inside that document is a collateral on our national assets. Now, how could you make such a dangerous decision? It's a very, very,
Now,
careless
who do you
one.
blame for that, though?
No, I blame the leaders. I blame those
Okay.
people who went for the negotiation, of course. Yeah, of course, I do blame them. And that is why I'm saying that they are preparing us for the next phase of our colonization.
Right.
So if China, within the contract, have written some terms and conditions that are not favorable to us, and our leaders signed on the dotted line, and the Chinese are giving more and more loans, and with the hope that in future, if there is a default, they will have to lay hold of our national assets. Isn't that the beginning of our problems?
Yes.
And I think the other thing also, if you do your research, you discover also that a number of countries, including Saudi Arabia and others, are acquiring land across Africa, either for agricultural purposes or whatever. And that most of the land they've purchased are outright purchase. So you are looking at a situation that in the near future, Africa will be colonized, the land will be dominated, and we're looking, almost going towards what happened in South Africa and apartheid era. I think that these were some of the considerations I had in mind when I spoke about our leaders, preparing us for our next phase of colonization or slavery.
Now, you talked about a number of things that the Chinese are doing. Now, there are two countries that have really severe weight on Africa at the moment, and I'm sure you have witnessed this. It is the Chinese and then the French. The Chinese are the neo-colonialists, while the French remain the colonial masters. When you look at all of Africa, the most underdeveloped countries in Africa remain French colonies. And somebody has said, when the colonialists left, the French never left. The French, you look at Mali, you look at Gabon, you look at, all over the place, Ivory Coast and so on and so forth. The French never left. Now, the Chinese have come, and they are even doing much more than what the re-colonialists did. I think Africans are realizing this very, very late, because when the Chinese started coming, everybody was hailing at them because they saw them constructing roads, they saw them building schools, they saw them building hospitals, and they thought, oh, these guys are really good friends. But little did they know, as we have said, our people are signing documents without reading them, and they are signing the next generation of Africans into the hands of the Chinese. And then the Chinese are giving Africans these loans, but they give the loan with the right hand, take it back with the left hand, and that when they give you a contract, they make sure that it is a Chinese company that is executing that contract. It is a Chinese employee that can work on that contract. So they end up taking everything back. So look at the rule. I want you to take a look at the rule of the Chinese and the French in contemporary Africa.
Well, look, I always want to look at these things from two angles. First of all, I think we need to give the Chinese some credit. The Chinese were under communism for so long, and I know that we were all educated to hate communism, to believe that communist countries are backward and all that. And what we didn't realize was that a day will come when this communist country will take a little bit of what is good about capitalism, return a little bit of what is good about, in their own perception of communism, and then use it to create a governance system, a business system that has conquered the whole world. That today, even the capitalist countries are owing the communist country. Isn't that amazing? Right. So I think we need to give them some credit there. And to me, they are like a role model. They should be a role model to African leaders to say, look, your situation, you can transform it if really you mean to. Now, why did they come to Africa? I think that's the first question. Why did they decide to choose Africa? Remember that the Americans and Europeans that were there, they had all the money for several years, but they never invested in Africa the way that the Chinese have done. The terms of their loans were conditional. They had to use it to condition the behavior of our leaders, knowing too well too that they are corrupt as well. Now, the Chinese made a decision that Africa holds a promise: economic growth, prosperity of the future. So while the Americans were sleeping, the Chinese were able to realize that Africa actually is not a dark continent. And so they made that conscious decision to penetrate into this market. It was a risk to them, it's a risk that they took. Now, like every business person, that's the point I was actually making, they had to lay the conditions. They were coming to Africa for natural resources. They were coming to Africa for cheap labor, but also realize that African countries are also very poor and that some of the loans they will give may not be repaid. So they laid some conditions and said, look, if you don't repay us, we will have to hold some of your national assets. Now, our leaders had the choice to make a decision, either to walk away, but because of greediness, lack of education, selfishness, and also, Chris, one other thing I believe is that because most of these leaders surrounded themselves with their tribesmen and women rather than people who are qualified and capable. So when the Chinese present their specialists during negotiation, the period, the African governments were not able to provide people of capabilities. And so when eventually the deal is signed, it has always been against the African countries. So I don't want to blame the Chinese 100%. I don't want to blame them 100%. I think the blame should be shared between our leaders who are so myopic, selfish, greedy, and tribalistic. And there is a lesson there for us. So to be honest, I'm not one of those people who is prepared to put all the blames on China. China is doing what they are doing in the interest of their own nation. They want to grow, they want to continue to dominate the world. It's not a wrong ambition.
But I get the point. I get the point that you are making there. We cannot put all the blames on the Chinese, or at least our leaders. I would say we should have at least 60% of the blame because they signed the contracts, and unfortunately, without reading the contracts. Now, last year, 2019, you ran for the presidency of Nigeria to become Nigerian president. Let me ask you. Knowing these kinds of agreements that the Chinese have signed with African leaders, in fact, some of these contracts were signed in Nigeria with the Nigerian government, with the officials not reading through the document before signing it. If you had become president of Nigeria, what would you have done with those contracts? Just let them go on until they expire, or you call the Chinese, sit on the table and say, listen, this is an unfair trade. We've got to do something about this. What would you have done, sir?
Well, I think it depends on the stage of the project itself. If these are projects that are still not yet started, and they're, if they're very important for the development of the nation, I'll ask for renegotiation. And then if the Chinese are not prepared to renegotiate, of course, we have to terminate that. And I will do what most leaders in Africa fail to do. You terminate it, you broadcast to the nation, tell them the reasons, tell them the benefit of the project, but tell them that because of the conditions imposed by China, you are not prepared to hold future generations hostage. And I think I will be supported by my people. There's no doubt about that. But if it is a project that's already underway, I mean, the project has already, started, because of the terms, my understanding is that the Chinese build in a clause that even makes it difficult once you have started the project, to cancel it. In fact, it becomes even more expensive than completing it. In that case, bearing in mind that Chinese are powerful economically, military, and other things, they are very, very influential at UN. We will have to, continue with our project. But what I would then do is to prosecute all those who were involved in negotiating that contract and freeze their assets. So their assets will be part of the collateral for the Chinese loan. I think that's one of the things I would do without actually thinking too much over it. They'll be lucky not to be in jail, but like I said, they will have to be prosecuted. No doubt about that.
All right, you mentioned something about COVID-19. What Africa suddenly wake up to discover. One thing that most of us observed was the attitude of the Chinese on Africans. in their country. You will recall that when that thing escalated, the Chinese first tried to blame it on Africans, bringing it into China. And they were then beginning to push Africans out of China. They will go into your home and get you packed out with your family to nowhere, and if possible, you were sent home. And African ambassadors in China were essentially powerless. They couldn't do anything to defend their own people, But there was another connection to that. The big media, I'm talking about the big social media, the YouTubes, the Facebooks, the Instagram, the Twitters, when Africans protested that Chinese treatment of Africans. You put a post on Facebook, and the Chinese didn't like it. They get Facebook to pull it down, or they ban you. You put a post on the YouTube, and the Chinese didn't like it. They get the YouTube, Google to pull it down or ban you entirely from posting anything about the Chinese. And this continues to today. How can Africans, and I'm not talking about the leaders, how can Africans fight this kind of imperialism, 21st century imperialism?
Well, that's a very good question. Let me tell you, Chris, I've been to China several times. I've been to several cities. Racism, if you mix with the Chinese officials, they treat you with all the respect that you deserve. But the common people in the street, they see you as subhuman and all that. Now, the behavior of the Chinese during the COVID-19 was a very, very big surprise to me. Now, the reason why it's a surprise to me was that China, gives this free loan and huge investment in Africa. So the assumption of we all made was that China, value Africans. But of course, that their behavior at that point in time showed to the contrary. The other thing is that the Chinese knew that Africans had nothing to do with COVID-19. And yet, in their communist ideology, where they do their own things, they decided to frame Africans. And to be honest, it got stuck, because even though some of us in UK here, you will see that when some people see Africans coming, they were almost running. I mean, the Chinese succeeded in painting anybody African to be a COVID-19 carrier. Now, the question is, what should we do? Now, the first thing is from our own government, to be honest. Our governments did not protest as they should. And the reason, again, is because they are in the pockets of China. Just as Mark Zuckerberg, or whatever his name is afraid of China to the point that China can instruct them to pull down posts, so also are African leaders. Now, what are we going to do? Let me tell you. Africans have some of the best minds in the world. What we need is, if Mark Zuckerberg was able to create Facebook, there is no reason why African designers and multimillionaires that are out there cannot bring themselves together and build an infrastructure that can compete with Facebook, but base it, give that access to Africans to use. That's basically, one of the options that.
Well, Dr. Davidson, you just read now, you were not aware of this coming on this show today. You were not aware of what I was going to announce. I actually have announced. I have an announcement that I'm going to be making at the end of this broadcast, and I think it is the solution. The solution to the point you have just raised. Let me tell you something. I witnessed Africans shut down on Facebook. I witnessed Africans shut down on YouTube. When they protested China, they protested the French, Africans had no voice. So I began to think, what can we do? The social media is so powerful. Africans need a platform where they can discuss African issues, discuss African solutions to African problems, And I thought about it and started working on something which I was actually going to launch it today. You were not aware, and I call it Africa Town Hall. Africa Town Hall. Ladies and gentlemen, Africa Town Hall is where every African should be. It is not different from Facebook. It is like a replica of Facebook. The interface is very, very easy. Very, very easy to use. You can find it right there on your screen. That is the sign in and registration screen of africatownhall.com. You can look at the interface there. In fact, let me read the mission statement here for you guys to see. This is what the mission statement says. Africa, using your words, Dr. David, again, I never discussed this with you, but you and myself, we have been using exactly the same words. And I wrote here in the mission statement, Africa continues to be the subject of ridicule. Africans are oppressed, victimized, racially profiled, and given labels that just do not match their description. The continent continues to live at the mercy of colonialists like the French and neo-colonialists like China. Concerted efforts remain very high to keep the continent dark as in colonial days. No doubt that China blamed Africans and kicked them out for the coronavirus. When Africa dared to protest by way of Facebook and YouTube, they were either banned or post deleted to keep them mute. When Africa protests Chinese and French empire building in the continent and the plundering of African economies, they use the big media to make sure Africans are blocked and cannot complain. Africa Town Hall is where we want Africans to discuss life and continental issues and profess solutions to Africa's own problems without censorship. They will be forced to hear us if no one is going to censor you. This is Africa Town Hall, ladies and gentlemen, and you have the web address on the screen there. It is simple. It is a replica, a complete replica of Facebook, simple to use, simple interface. I urge every African, this is where we can take our problems to. The platform will grow, and the world will be forced to listen to us, to know what we are saying without any of them being able to shut down our voices. Dr. Davidson, please.
Congratulations. I mean, look, this is, I've been looking, I haven't tried it yet, but with the description you've given, I don't care about the tethering. I mean, of course, in every new technology, every new program has a tethering stage. I think it's important that we support it. Somebody also made me aware of another, another program, I think almost aimed on Africa, but also competing with Zoom. You know, Zoom is Chinese. Right. And I think some Africans have been able to produce, a program that, is competing with Zoom. I'm not sure what it's called now. I think Africa is moving, and it gives me a great joy, that you've been able to announce this while I'm on this program for the first time. So actually, both of us are making history in the same day. That's fantastic. Thank you very much, and congratulations.
Thank you. And again, we really hope that every African out there will take advantage. Let us stop patronizing the same powers that are ridiculing us and giving us labels and racially profiling us and making us remain the dark continent, Please, every one of you out there, I urge you, go on africatownhall.com, sign up, have an account, invite friends, This is where we talk Africa. This is where we discuss African issues and prefer African solutions. Now, Dr. Davidson, let's talk about the French for a little bit. The French have essentially mortgaged most of French Africa. I'm talking about Cameroon. Now you listen to my first part of this broadcast where we were talking about the occupation, the colonial occupation, we'll call it, or colonial occupation of the southern Cameroons, because never did the southern Cameroons join French Cameroon. Now you may not understand the history a little bit, but there was supposed to be a joining. But historically, it never took place. Legally, it never took place. And today, Southern Cameroonians who are now called Ambazonians are saying we want back our state as existed between 1953 and 1960. That is what the Southern Cameroonians are saying. Now, we came to this point because of systematic marginalization, enslavement by the French Cameroon under the control of the French. When you look at French African colonies, they remain the most backward countries in the continent with a record of terrible human rights. Please, how do we get rid of this French influence, overwhelming influence on African countries? Look at what Rwanda did. Cutting off from the French, Rwanda is a much better country today because they cut off the French. What is your solution, your preferred solution to this, sir?
Let me tell you, Chris, I'm happy you mentioned Rwanda. Well, I'm also happy because I didn't realize that Rwanda was once, under French colony. I'm not aware of that. Now, whatever Rwanda has done, I'm a fan of Paul Kagame. I'm a fan of that guy. Whatever that he has done that has made it possible for him today, a very small landlocked nation that went through hell, genocide, to be among, some of the best economies in Africa today, shows that Paul Kagame, there is something he knows that other African leaders don't. Now, with the French, I think the starting point there, like I said, is to learn from Paul Kagame and see what he did. I'm not sure how he did it, but I think it would be good if he can write a book to tell us how he did it. But African leaders can learn from
Paul Kagame, Dr. Paul Kagame, as you said, you were not aware, but Rwanda was a French colony.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, after the Rwandan war in the 90s, when the war was over, Paul Kagame took over and passed a decree banning anything French, changed their official language from French to English, went back to the classroom, and everybody in Rwanda was to be taught in English, and office work was to be done in English, official communiques in English, everything French. French was cut off from Rwanda after years of colonization. That is what they did.
Well, I mean, that is great. Like I said, he's a very big fan of mine. I think what is to happen now, not every leader in the Francophone countries has got the kind of, strengths that Paul Kagame has. I think that this is where African Union should come in and play a very good part. Ambassador Arikana, I know, had some fight with the French people, French government, that probably, have impacted him one way or the other. But some of her work has actually paid off. My understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the French government has decided to not to be, keeping some of the foreign reserves of these African countries. And I think the next thing now to do is for the African Union and ECOWAS
to come together and then work out a plan, that will support these countries, to ensure that they find ways of gaining, proper independence. I'm not a political scientist, so to be honest, I haven't got much to offer in this area. But what gives me great joy is hearing that Paul Kagame was once under this chain, and he's been able to break free. In the past, I was reading that in the past, the reason why a number of leaders in these Francophone countries could not resist was because of the past experiences, that some of their leaders who tried were assassinated or coups were organized against them.
Right.
So my hope here, and that's why I'm saying here that African Union and ECOWAS should be able to back these countries, protect them, shield them, and then probably...
But that is exactly the problem, one of the problems, Dr. Davidson. The African Union, the leader is put by the French. I'm sure you know that. The leader of the African Union is put there by the French. He is there for French interests. ECOWAS. When you talk about ECOWAS, imagine how many French countries are in there. When ECOWAS came up with the ECOs, the common West African currency, guess who dictated the terms of the ECO? Under the influence of the Ivorians, the French. So, be it the African Union, be it ECOWAS, they're essentially, they call it powerless bulldogs. Powerless bulldogs is a name. I give you another example. Look at what has been going on in the Cameroons. For 4 years, they've been war declared in Cameroon by the regime in French Cameroon on a part of on the southern Cameroons. You would think that the African Union will come in and say, hey, let's call a meeting and look into what is happening in this country when over 12,000 people have been killed, over 1 million internally displaced, over 100,000 living in refugee settlements in Nigeria, in Calabar, in Akwa Ibom, in the northern states also. You would think that the African Union would come in and say, let's do something, let's look into this problem. No, they have not as much as called for a hearing, not ECOWAS. And you guess why? Because the Cameroons is owned by the French. And when you have their leader at the helm of the AU, you can't do nothing. This is the grip. This is the grip that Africa has. That the French have over Africa.
Well, it's rather unfortunate. I know that even the Anglophone countries, that's the English-speaking countries, they are still, many of them are still under the spell of their colonial masters. But I think this is why we need the elite. We need I was about to say the educated. We need our professionals. We need our businessmen and women. We need them to come together, everybody to come together and begin to speak with one voice. I think one of the things we are not good at the moment is to get our population to reason together and to speak with one voice. And to be honest, the education system, in one way or the other, is also to blame. I have an organization which we've just formed out of the success of my video. One of the things we are planning to do is to strategize on how to reprogram the mindset of Africans. The organization is still in the formation stage. The structures are still being put together. We recognize that if Africa is to succeed in the near future, we have to have our citizens their mindsets reprogrammed, so that we can all speak with one voice and stand firm to what we believe. If we don't do that, there's no amount of natural resources, no amount of loan from China, or what, even if they give it to us free of charge, development will be very, very difficult, because the mind is so powerful. And slavery, racism, the European-based education system we've used, they've all polluted the mindset of a typical African in such a way that we don't even realize when we are being used and abused. And I think that, to me, once we are able to get Africans to begin to reason the way they should, I think solutions will emerge in the near future.
Doctor, what do you think that in the practical way, because when you made that short clip that went viral, there was an action call, I guess, something that you wanted Africans to begin to do to change this situation. In your case, you went back to your country, Nigeria, and ran for the presidency. And what should Africans, the man on the street, begin to do to change this situation? Now, this is why this is very, very critical. Africans has lots and lots of capital invested in the diaspora, capital that should have been invested back in the homeland. It is not going in there because you go there, you cannot do good business without the corrupt system and the corrupt politicians and so on and so forth. What should Africans begin to do from their little corners to change this system?
Again, Chris, it goes back to this idea of making sure that the mindset of Africans, they are changed. Now, listen. Now, you see, there was a post I received on WhatsApp the other day, and it simply says, that Africans are happy to elect a bad leader, providing that bad leader is their bad leader. In other words, it comes from their tribe. They prefer a bad leader from their tribe to a qualified, patriot from a different tribe. That has to change. It has to change completely if we are to say. So if you go back to the video that I made, I said that we need leaders. We need to find a way of getting rid of the current, corrupt leaders, and to give way to a new generation of leaders who understand the new world, so that those individuals who are creative, intelligent, understand what it takes to be able to power an economy, can take over. And that can only happen if the common man is willing to sacrifice by forgetting about the little money or little change that are often given when these corrupt politicians are campaigning for votes. I think the second part is, Chris, is that there are, in fact, not everybody within every government actually is corrupt. But let me tell you why eventually they succumb to corruption. Chris, we do not have a situation in Africa where a leader sacrifices for the common good of the society and then get recognized. Chris, is very rare. The population will not be behind you when you fall. And therefore, that lack of support is one of the reasons why that even individuals who are prepared to, stand their ground in government, they know too well that if they are thrown out, nobody will come to the street to protest, and eventually they'll be the loser. I think we need to begin to change the mindset of our population so that they can support those who are prepared to stand out for their common good.
Thank you, Doctor. We are going to end this conversation here, but I can assure you, I will get back to you. We're going to have much more of these types of conversations until the mentality of our people, of our governance, begin to change. We just cannot continue in this same way where Africa is derided everywhere across the globe. And I really hope that Africans, they're listening to you, they're listening to me, they're listening to the Aricanas and so on, listening to the Professor Lumumbas of Africa. These people like you are the people who want to see a different, a new Africa. And again, one of the ways to do so is to have a platform for a free speech, where you can freely express what you feel, what you think, or not just berate people, but tabulate ideas that can build maybe your own country or the continent. I will give you the last word, sir.
Thank you very much. Look, Chris, I want to thank you for the opportunity you've given to me here, and I think you're doing a great job. It was through your program that I became aware of this Ambazonia problem. I want to tell you that I don't know, for whatever reason, it's not as widely publicized as I thought it should. And so I think you're doing a very good job to make sure that people become aware of what is going on in that region. For Africa to be free, everybody in Africa has to be free. And I want to thank you once again for the opportunity to be here this evening and to share my thoughts with you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Doctor. It was a privilege having you. Hope to talk with you again.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Dr. Israel Davidson joining me from London. Before I go, I just want to update you with what is happening in Bamenda. I have been told that 2 people were shot dead. 2 people were shot dead in Bamenda today by French Cameroon forces. And as I speak, there is a curfew in the town. The soldiers, the police have resolved to have people locked home throughout the rest of the week, they said. So we are asking everybody in Bamenda, please stay home, be safe, don't go out to be killed. Now, I just want to remind you of this website, africatownhall.com. africatownhall.com. This is our own Africa Facebook, ladies and gentlemen. This is our own Africa Facebook. I like you to have a feel of it. This is not different from what Facebook is all about. You can look at it there. That is my personal homepage there. You go there, you sign in, you register. You can do everything that Facebook does. Facebook does everything that Facebook does. You can carry it out on this page. You can invite friends. You can upload videos, you can upload audios, you can upload photographs, you can do live broadcasts. That is a future we are still working on right now. Also, in the days ahead, we're going to be having the app. We're going to be having the app for the website produced out there. But we want you, ladies and gentlemen, take this out there. Let every African come here. Let us tell our story here. Let us discuss our problems here, the problems of Africa. Let us discuss them here. Maybe by so doing, we may save the continent. We may save our towns. We may save our countries. So that is the website. Go there, africatownhall.com. africatownhall.com. That is the web address on your screen. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that is all that I had for you today. For those of you who cannot, I learned that you are not receiving ABC on ground zero. Please don't be worried about that. It will be back up and running either today or tomorrow, just due to some technical issues. And once more, let me thank all of you out there who supported ABC Drive. Thank you so very, very much. I just urge you, if you drafted but haven't paid yet, we only have up to the end of September, for your payment to come in. So please, I'm asking you, if you drafted for ABC and you haven't paid, try to redeem the pledge. You can go to ABC website at abcambertv.org, abcambertv.org to redeem your pledge. You can go there to redeem your pledge. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in, and good night.